Hello, how's it going?
Stop recording.
In this video, I headed over to Chester for a ride. It was a Saturday, and the weather was lovely, bright and sunny, with a bit of a strong wind. But that was all good. I just took it steady and stayed careful, especially on the open stretches. Saturdays were usually a day off for my wife too, but this was one of those rare weekends where she had to work. So I made the most of the quiet time and got out for a proper ride. Along the way, I saw loads of other cyclists as well. You could really tell people were enjoying the good weather. The paths felt lively, but still relaxed. Back in the Philippines, whenever we passed another cyclist, we would usually ring the bell, give a little wave, or nod. Just a simple way to say hi and share the road. I still love that idea, even here. Sometimes it felt a bit awkward if someone didn't respond, but I always tried to see it in a good way. Maybe they didn't notice, maybe they were focused, or maybe they were just having one of those quiet rides. Either way, I kept it friendly, kept it respectful, and enjoyed the journey because rides like this were never just about destination, but small moments along the way. Speaking of what happened along the way, I honestly did not expect to end up on a muddy gravel path, but it was all good. I took it slow, kept the bike steady, and just went with it. And I was really glad I hadn't removed my mudguard. It did exactly what it was supposed to do and saved me from getting absolutely covered. In a funny way, that little rough section felt like a palate cleanser after all the country roads I'd been riding earlier. It broke up the pace, changed the scenery, and made the ride feel a bit more adventurous. I actually enjoyed it a lot, and it reminded me that the unexpected parts were often the ones I remembered the most. Again, speaking of what I saw along the way, I spotted this massive satellite looking structure. I saw a few signs saying Chodrel Bank, and from a distance, it genuinely looked like something straight out of an old PC game like Command and Conquer Red Alert, almost like a spy satellite. I was really curious what it actually was and what it was used for, but I did not stop long enough to properly look it up at the time. I came across another group of cyclists along the way, and they genuinely looked like they were having a great time out there. It was nice to see. Good weather, good company, and everyone just enjoying the ride. I was enjoying my ride solo too. There was something peaceful about it, and it felt like a really good way to distress and clear my head. With my job, I usually met all sorts of people every day. I often saw them when they were at their worst, tired, unwell, or going through a difficult moment. So, being out on the bike with fresh air and a bit of space felt like a reset. It gave me time to breathe, slow down, and appreciate simple things, just moving forward, one pedal stroke at a time. I also really liked the churches and older buildings I saw here in the UK. They'd done such a good job preserving the original look and character. Even though I wasn't particularly religious, I still appreciated them. The history, the craftsmanship, and the way they made a place feel grounded and timeless. And I'll be honest, sometimes the mood of the old stone buildings felt like a little eerie in a cinematic way, almost like the kind of setting you'd see in a horror film. I didn't mean that in a negative way at all. It was more that they had this dramatic atmosphere, especially when the light changed or the sky turned gray. It also made me think about Manila, where only a small number of old buildings had been preserved. So much of the city had been shaped by history, being turned into a battleground during World War II. And on top of that, we'd often dealt with typhoons and earthquakes over the years. Seeing how much history was still standing here really made me reflect on how different places carried their past in different ways. I also noticed something when I first arrived here in the UK. So many houses in each town or city seemed to share the same kind of colors and style. It almost looked uniform, like everything was coordinated. In a way, it gave the streets a calm, tidy feel, like the whole place was moving in the same rhythm. Back in the Philippines, it felt completely different. Houses often had their own designs, their own colors, and their own personality. Seeing both styles made me appreciate them in different ways. The quiet unity here and the colorful individuality back home. Which do you prefer? The uniform streets or the colorful homes? At this point in the ride, I thought I was already in Delamere Forest. The area looked beautiful, quiet, and really refreshing after the roads earlier. I knew there were some great cycling trails around here too, but I didn't properly plan for them on this ride. So I told myself I'd come back next time and really make a day of it. I really love the setting here, how there are so many green spaces and forests close to where people live. You see everyone out there, kids, parents, older couples, walkers, and cyclists. It feels simple and wholesome, like these places make it easy to slow down and spend time together outdoors. Back in the Philippines, a lot of our usual hangouts are malls, and that honestly makes sense because it's often very hot, and malls are comfortable, air conditioned, and full of food and activities. The only thing is, when you're in a mall, it's hard to avoid spending. Shops and restaurants are everywhere, and if you're trying to budget, it can be difficult to fully relax and enjoy the day. Maybe I feel this more because before moving to the UK, I lived my whole life in Metro Manila, where it's mostly buildings and traffic, and outer spaces can feel far away or not accessible day to day. That said, One thing I really love about home is that you can drive to a beautiful beach in around 3 hours and enjoy the sea almost any time of the year. Though, of course, it still costs time, fuel, and planning. Being here has just made me reflect on how public spaces shape everyday life. Back home, a lot of social activities can end up tied to spending, while here, it feels like parks, forests, and trails give people more options to enjoy themselves without needing much money. I'm saying that carefully because I know every place has its own realities, and I'm still learning, but it's something I think about when I'm out riding through all this greenery. I was also glad that the days were getting longer again. Having more daylight just meant more time to ride, more time to explore, and less pressure to rush. And I had a feeling Chester would be pretty lively, especially with it being a payday weekend. It always brings a nice buzz to the city. I passed by a basketball court and it instantly made me think of home. Filipinos really love basketball. It's everywhere, and the passion for it is on another level. It reminded me of how people here in the UK feel about soccer. Oops, football, I mean. That same energy, that same sense of community, just a different sport. Sometimes I do wonder, though, what if football, or another sport that doesn't rely so much on height, became the main sport back home? It's just a random toss. Basketball is amazing, but it's also a tough stage physically, and we haven't really seen a fully homegrown Filipino player make it into the NBA yet. A lot of our neighboring countries lean more towards football, and places like Japan and South Korea have strong baseball cultures too. Sports where different body types can shine in different ways. Of course, history plays a part. American influence in the early 1900s helped shape what became popular in the Philippines, and somehow, basketball just became part of everyday life. At this point, I was getting close to Chester, and it was starting to get darker. I'd been taking it at a steady pace, so time had slipped by quicker than I expected. Kumut said it was only about 3 hours from Macclesfield, but I had a little laughed at that. I'm pretty sure that estimate assumed a much faster average speed than I could manage, and that definitely wasn't happening today. Still, the timing works out in its own way. Seeing Chester with that slightly gloomy, overcast atmosphere actually suited it. There's something about the UK's old buildings and streets that looks even more dramatic when the sky turns grey, like the place has its own character that comes out in that kind of weather. The town center really looked lovely, and I'm really sorry. I knew I'd been making a lot of Philippines references in this video, but seeing this walled city honestly reminded me of Intramuros in Manila, where you can explore the area and even walk along the parts of the old walls. It gave me that same feeling of history and character, just in a different setting. There was clearly a lot of you could do here in Chester, but on this ride, I mainly wanted to arrive, take it in, and explore the town center by bike. I did not get to cover as much as I wanted because it was getting dark, but that just gave me a good reason to come back. Next time, I'd love to spend more time properly exploring, and I'm pretty sure there are some really nice cycling routes around the city too. I also loved how my bike blended with the colors of the buildings here. That mustard yellow just looked really good against the stone and brick in the background. It popped, but in a classy way. And truthfully, I was never really a yellow bike person, but there was something about it that won me over. The first time I saw this color in one of Probably Riding's videos, I became a fan straight away. Seeing it out here in real life, on rides like this, made me appreciate it even more. I once read a line on the Rivendell Bicycle Works website that really stuck with me. The best bike ride is where you start from home and end at home. So, with that in mind, it was time to head back. But I'll admit, I was going to cheat a little. I hopped on the train for the ride home. And I'm not gonna lie, I love how easy it is here in the UK to combine cycling with public transport. Being able to go bimodal or multimodal makes rides like this feel so much more doable. You can explore further, enjoy the journey, and still get home comfortably at the end of the day. Look how cute this cat is. It almost feels like a sign for me to become a cat dad again. Maybe someday. But for now, I'll just settle for all the cute cat videos on my Instagram feed. And speaking of Instagram, feel free to follow me at Low Gear Days. If you made it to this part of the video, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed the ride, please give it a little like and consider subscribing. Now, let's take the train ride and the last little bike ride back home. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.